Wow. Somebody else. They're all talking to each other. 32 viewers. It's 6:30. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, students, parents, families, guardians, grandparents, guests. Thank you for joining us for our virtual instrument night. Normally we do this event in person, and we look forward to the day that we are able to do this event in person again. My name is Brian Frazier. I am the coordinator of Art, Music, Health, and Physical Education for the Stratford Public Schools. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here this evening. And I'd like to introduce our wonderful staff of the Elementary Instrumental Music Department, who you will be meeting as the presentation goes on. We have Mr. Joseph Ushak, Mr. Jake Habegger, Mr. Patrick Barnum, Mr. Jeffrey Babby, and Mrs. Janice Hooten-Racine. Unable to be with us tonight is Mrs. Erin Mena, one of our other teachers, but you will be seeing her very soon. And with that being said, I'd like to turn the presentation over to the teachers, who will begin to tell you about our elementary instrumental music program. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mr. Barnum. I'm the band teacher at Franklin Elementary School and Second Helene Elementary School. And we're going to talk about when band lessons and rehearsals actually take place. So lessons are going to be once a week. Your student is going to have a half-hour lesson where they get to meet with other students playing the same instrument as them. So when are lessons? Students will have a half-hour lesson once a week where they get to meet with other students playing the same instrument as them. And in addition to that, they will have a 40-minute rehearsal once a week, which is with all of the students of the band or the orchestra. Now, lessons and rehearsal times and days are based on individual classroom schedules. We check in with each of the classroom teachers to see that we are not taking the student out of any important work that they're missing, and we also make sure that those students make that work up. We always work our schedule out with the teachers to make sure it's not infringing on their time. The last thing we're going to talk about is student expectations in band and orchestra. Students are expected to practice 3 times a week. Really, the more that you practice, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Students are expected to try their best, support one another, participate in lessons, concerts, and rehearsals. That means remembering your instrument in school, remembering your music, bringing everything that you need. And that's our expectations.
Hi, I'm Mr. Babby. Next we're going to show you the instruments that you can choose to play if you choose to join the band or orchestra in Stratford. We have some students who are going to demo some instruments, and the teachers are going to demonstrate some instruments. The most important thing is that you choose an instrument you like the sound of. So as you're listening to the different instruments, decide which one you like the sound of. That's the instrument you should choose to play. And all the information we're talking about tonight you can find at stratfordmusic.org.
Hello, I am Mrs. Hooten-Racine, and I am going to be demonstrating the violin. So when you are choosing a string instrument, you are going to need to see your classroom teacher to measure the appropriate size. String instruments come in different sizes, and you want your child to play on the appropriate size. With a string instrument, you are going to grow into the instrument. So you may start on a half size or a quarter size violin and move up to, at some point, a full size violin. So I will be demonstrating the violin.
My name is Gemma, and I'll be demonstrating the viola. My name is Gemma, and I'll be talking about the viola and demonstrating the viola.
Hello, my name is Amelie, and I'll be demonstrating the cello.
Hi, I'm Javere McDonald, and I'll be demonstrating the bass.
Hello, my name is Mr. Yashak, and I'm another one of the instrumental teachers here. Those first 4 instruments that you heard were part of the orchestra program. The next group of instruments you're going to hear are all part of the band program. The instruments that you have to blow into, we have special masks that we are using this year. The flute uses a mask that goes across the face, around the head, and there's a little opening on the side here so that I can take the flute and place it in so that I can play it.
Next instrument is the oboe. A lot of times this instrument is confused with the clarinet, but there is one major difference between the clarinet and the oboe. The oboe is a double reed, where it's 2 reeds pushed together, held into a tube, and wrapped with string, which creates the reeds to vibrate back and forth. And you'd be using a special mask where there's a flap and an opening where you would put the reed in.
And this is the clarinet.
Hello, I'm Mr. Barnum again, and I'm introducing the alto saxophone. Just so you know, there's many types of saxophones, but if you're choosing to play the saxophone, this is the one we want. The alto saxophone is the right size.
And now we're going to move on to the brass instruments. This is the trumpet.
So this is the French horn. The bell faces backwards, only instrument that does, and you're going to wonder why my hand is in the bell. My hand is in the bell that helps the sound travel up the arm and out into the audience. Normally we play this seated. Choosing the French horn, you're going to want a single horn. They come single and double. You would like a single horn.
Continuing on with our brass instruments, we have the trombone. This is a unique one because this is the only one of our brass instruments that doesn't have any valves. So we have a slide that we move, and that's how we change our notes.
Hi everybody, my name is Mr. Habeger. I teach band and orchestra at Lordship School, and I also teach band at Eli Whitney School. And I'm going to be showing you the baritone horn.
Coming up next to show us what percussionists get to use. Every year, there's always a lot of students who are interested in playing drums, but we don't teach just drums, we teach percussion. And percussion in the first year of band focuses mostly on the mallet instruments. So if you choose to play percussion, you're going to play an instrument called the orchestra bells, which Katie's going to demonstrate for us. All right, thank you, Katie. So, every year we always get questions about what brand of instrument you should try to get. We don't recommend any, oh, are you going to show the snare drum? Oh, and then after the first year, after the first year of work on percussion, you do get some time to play the snare drum.
I'm just going to show you a couple of the snare drum rudiments that we learn in the first year or second year. This one's called the single stroke roll. This one's called the flam. And then everyone's favorite, the buzz roll. The snare drum.
Every year, we always get questions about what brand of instrument you should try to buy. We don't recommend any specific brands, but I will tell you that some of my textbooks from college coursework teaching brass and teaching woodwinds identify several brands of instruments that they say are appropriate for beginners. These include Yamaha, Jupiter, Selmer, Armstrong, Buffet, Bach, Kahn, and Holton, and both textbooks recommend the Yamaha brand for all instruments at every level from beginner to professional musician. This is by no means a complete list. There are many other manufacturers that make high-quality musical instruments, and much of the choice comes down to personal preference.
So when you look to get an instrument, you may be asking yourself, should I be renting it? Should I be buying it? What if you have one already? Our suggestion to you is that you rent. Renting is the safest thing to do at this point of your playing time. In the case you might have decided to change instruments, it is so much easier to make a change if you're renting. As we mentioned before about the sizing of the string instruments, it is so much easier to get a new size if you're renting. And our school is providing you information from stores that have a long history with us and are giving you an instrument to play on that Mr. Babby mentioned is a high quality instrument. We try and discourage people from purchasing. It's a very big investment very early on in your playing time, and if you don't stick with it, or if you decide to change instruments, it could be a very expensive decision to buy. So again, rent. If you happen to have an instrument at home, or you're going to borrow an instrument from a friend or a family member to play on, we ask that you please bring it into school as soon as you can, and let your music teacher, let your instrumental teacher take a look at it to make sure it's working properly. We've had many students show up on their first lesson with an instrument that's broken, and now they're missing out on several weeks while that instrument has to go out and get fixed. So rent, try not to buy, and if you have one already, let us take a look at it.
So again, with the string instrument, it is really important to rent your instrument because most elementary students in 4th grade are probably going to play on violin that is either a quarter size or a half size. Same thing with viola. Viola comes not in quarter, half, whole size, or full size. It comes in inches, and so they're going to grow into their instrument. Cello, same thing. You want to purchase or rent an instrument that is their correct size. You got to see the different string instruments up here and the students, and you can see that they were all different sizes. I played on a full-size violin. The violist, she played on a 15-inch viola. The cello was not a full-size cello, that was a 3/4 size cello, and the double bass was a 3/4 size double bass. If your child is going to play bass, they're going to want to have the bass that's appropriate to their size, and most beginners play on an 1/8, and as they grow, like Javert has, he has finally grown into that 3/4 size bass. So it's really important to rent your instrument because halfway through the school year, your teacher's going to say, oh, you need to get the next size instrument, and if you purchased it, then it means that you're going to have to purchase another one because they have to have that appropriate size in order to play it correctly.
Hello, it's Mr. Barnum again, and we're going to be talking about where to get an instrument. So these are the companies that we just have a working relationship with, and that we don't endorse any particular store over another, but these are just 3 helpful choices. By the way, all this information, including everything else tonight, can be found at our website, which is stratfordmusic.org. Our first company is Connecticut Band Instrument Services, which is actually located right here in Stratford. You can do in-store pickup, or you can do an online delivery, and we have the links to their websites on our website. We also have Music and Arts Center of Fairfield. They are an online service where you can call or go online and they'll deliver your instrument to your house. And then finally, we have Route 1 Guitars in Milford, up on in Devon on, forget the road. But again, they are an in-person store because they're kind of local, so you can just call them up, ask them what they have, and then go into the store to pick up your instrument. Thank you.
I'm back, Mr. Habegger here, to tell you about the lesson book. So, just getting an instrument is not enough. You need to have a lesson book. So if you're a band student, that means you're going to get the book called The Individualized Instructor, Sing, Drum, and Play by James Frozeth. That you can order online using the website, stratfordmusic.org. Or a lot of the music stores that Mr. Barnum was just referencing, they usually include the book with the rental. Definitely make sure the book is included though. If you are going to play percussion, there is an additional book just for the snare drum. It's called The Performing Percussionist, Book 1 by James Coffin. That can be ordered online as well through Alfred's music page, alfred.com. A very easy link. I have my phone here just so I don't forget stuff, but I'm looking at the website, the stratfordmusic.org page, and it has links to all of these books, very easy to find and accessible. If you choose to play an orchestral instrument, a string instrument, we use Strictly Strings, Book 1, and there's also links to that on the website. Did I forget anything, Mrs. Hooten? Those are the books.
All right, this is Mr. Babby. So I'll just, on the tail end of what Mr. Habegger said, this is our website, stratfordmusic.org. And if you look up at the top, underneath where it says Join the Band or Orchestra, there's a button here to order the band book. If you click on percussion information, it'll take you where you can order both percussion books and find information about the bell kit that you'll need to play percussion, and you can go here to order the strings book. So if you go there, for example, on the band book page, it takes you right here, so there are buttons to click for each instrument, and it'll take you right to the publisher's website where you can order that book. So some other supplies that you'll need to participate in band and orchestra. It is highly recommended that each student have a music stand to practice with at home. If you're setting your book down on a table or a desk to try to practice, you're going to be bent over trying to play, and it's going to create some very poor posture habits. Also this year, when we have our ensemble rehearsals, it's going to be very important that students bring a folding music stand with them to rehearsal. We want to keep the students spaced out, which means we can't share any music stands in rehearsal. So we'll need students to bring a fold-up music stand in order to have enough stands for every single student. If you're playing a woodwind instrument, saxophone, clarinet, or oboe, you'll need reeds. If you rent an instrument, it will come with 1 or 2 reeds, but beginning students will use those up pretty quickly. If you go to stratfordmusic.org and click on Join the Band or Orchestra and you scroll down, I have links to some reeds that you can buy here for clarinet and saxophone. I'm working on a supplies page right now with more links to reeds and other things. And you can also get them from any of the local music stores. Wherever you choose to get an instrument from, you can get reeds there. The string instruments will need rosin for their bows. The bows don't work very well unless we put rosin on them. The rosin helps them grip to the strings so that they can make an appropriate sound. And the brass instruments need some kind of lubricant, valve oil, slide cream, rotor oil to make sure all the moving parts stay moving. If you think of the trumpet, the piston valves on the trumpet are kind of like the pistons in your car engine, and without oil, the metal will rub on metal and break down. So it needs this oil in order to work properly. We will try to start lessons as soon as we possibly can. It takes a little time to get everybody scheduled, and the sooner you get information back to us that you're joining and what instrument you played, the faster we can get you scheduled for a lesson. If you're choosing to rent an instrument, you should set up the rental as soon as possible. If I scroll up here on the page, you'll see, where do I get an instrument? I have links from the different music stores that we've worked with. You can get right to their websites to rent an instrument online, or you can go visit them in person. Their addresses are right here. So the sooner you, so rent your instrument as soon as possible. Sometimes if their inventory runs low, there can be a backlog and it might take longer. So the sooner you get there and order your rental, the better off you are. And the best way for you to help your child, encourage them to practice at home. The more frequently they practice, the better they will get. We expect students to practice at least 3 times each week. Make sure that they're keeping their instrument clean and safely storing it. Ask them to perform little mini concerts for your family. The more support and encouragement they get, the more fun they'll have, and the more likely they'll be to continue. Make sure they have enough supplies if they're playing saxophone or clarinet. Ask them every once in a while, how are your reeds? Do you need any more? And keep encouraging them. I know especially in those first few weeks, you're going to hear some interesting sounds coming from their instruments. The more you can tell them how great they're doing and how much better they're getting, the better they're going to end up. They'll keep practicing and they'll keep improving. And some teachers use practice logs. Make sure you check them and make sure that they are accurate. So at the top and bottom of the page, if you go to, I'll walk you through the whole thing. If you go to stratfordmusic.org, this is what you see. I'm going to add a button here to take you to our Google form, but right now you need to go to About Joining Band or Orchestra, or you can click the button up here that says Join the Band. So if you click that button, it will take you to the page that our information was coming from, and right here at the top, it says, click here to sign up for band or orchestra. If you click that button, it will take you to a Google form that you can fill out to indicate that your child will be participating in the band or orchestra program. Some of the music teachers are also sending home paper forms. So if you sent back a paper form, you don't need to fill out the form online, and vice versa. So as long as you've indicated one place or the other that your child will be participating, we'll have it written down. Since this wasn't working before, I just want to scroll through quickly. All the information we talked about tonight is right here on this website, stratfordmusic.org. And there are some helpful links here, especially for getting your lesson book and if you need some extra reads. And I'm going to continue adding more useful things to this site.
If you have any questions, if you have any questions at all, we encourage you to seek out the music teacher at your child's school by telephone, by email, and some of our music teachers are even keeping after-school office hours where you can walk up and converse with them outside. So we do encourage you to reach out to your child's music teacher for your questions, your concerns, and your feedback. We thank you for joining us this evening. I want to thank our wonderful instrumentalists for their time and their talents, and for demonstrating the instruments for you. And we look forward to seeing you at concerts in the future when you come to see your children playing instruments in our Stratford Public Schools Elementary Instrumental Music Program. Thank you.